Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me and see me well. I'm very thankful to be here today and to be able to join the team that's presenting and sharing some of the information that we have so that you can use a lot of the skills that we use every day and hopefully help the environments, the communities, or the members of your family feel empowered with what they can do. So I'm very thankful to be able to join today and share some of the little things that I know and hopefully give you a little bit of new information or information that you already know in a different way and act as a reminder. So, Nicole gave a great introduction as to who I am. But, like she said, I am born and raised in Colombia and I am a bilingual speech therapist. So, I speak Spanish and English, and I use that every day in my therapy sessions. I'm also an adult educator, so I spend some time teaching abroad, and I'll talk about that later with the team. But right now, I'm going to focus a bit more on the topic that I have for today's session and for you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my slides. First slide that you'll see is the same information that you've seen about me. I'm just going to like Nicole said and went over a lot of this. So I am from Colombia and I live currently in Florida. So enjoying a little bit of the warmth compared to some of my coworkers right now. The three topics that I want to talk about today and share with you is that it takes time. Remember to connect. And here are some strategies, some visual strategies to help us out in communicating better and in different ways. So these are the areas we'll cover today. Like I said, we're going to talk about consistency and engagement. So making sure that we're using repetitions and keeping our students or our children engaged in sessions, and that the time that we spend that we spend with them and how important that is in really growing their knowledge and their skills and making them feel encouraged that they can communicate, even if it looks different than with everybody else. I'm going to cover a little bit on one of my areas. One of my areas of expertise is the hard of hearing and deaf population and the development of spoken language with some of these students. So I'll cover a little bit of things to take into consideration when someone might be hard of hearing or deaf, and what things we can do to make sure that we are communicating well with these individuals. And then I'll talk about my favorite thing, which is visuals and using images to communicate, to make time with your kids or to make time with your students or patients more engaging and a lot more or a communication, or include the communication in a different way, not just rely on our verbal skills during our sessions. So don't hesitate to write questions as we go along during the session, because I know that a lot of us are watching over those. But of course, I'd love to answer anything that might come up as much as I can. So first of all, time. One of the biggest things that I encounter over being a therapist, myself, my students, and my parents, is always wanting to see solutions a bit quicker, or wanting one of those, let me just take this and see the answer right away. But one of the most important things that I have learned throughout my experiences in the different areas and teaching abroad is that all of this takes time. And that every minute that we spend working with our students or your child or at home as a family is making a difference. But we might not see it right away. It might take us a few minutes. It might take us a few days, a few weeks, months to be able to see those moments in which our students get that spark and you go, there it is. It took me, I didn't think that was working. And then it does. So I know that as people, as humans, we very easily get to a point where we might get frustrated and kind of want to give up and walk away. But most of the time, it is that moment when we're ready to give up that you're gonna start to see the progress. So remember that. Remember that it will take time. We're not going to see the answers. It's not something where we do it one time and we learn it immediately. Our students, our families, our children don't do that either. So if we think about a child learning to crawl or a child learning to walk, it takes them a little bit of time to get their bearings and start standing straight and putting their feet down so that they can get the energy and they can get the strength that they need to be able to walk and do steps. And it still takes them longer to walk like an adult. So like we walk. It's the same with learning how to communicate. It's the same with developing those skills that we need to engage with others, to play with a ball, to write, or to do any of the activities that maybe came easily to others. Remember what Nicole said, each one of our children is very, very different, and they will learn and grow in a different way, and we can't take that away from them. We have to remember that they deserve that time, and that with our engagement and giving them that time to grow, we're going to start seeing that progress. So that's one of the biggest things. Don't forget to wait when you're asking questions. So if we ask a question and hope to practice it today, normally we'll ask a question, wait 3 seconds and let go and answer it ourselves. With our students and our children and your children, give them a little bit extra time. It's really awkward and uncomfortable for us as grown-ups to give them extra time, but it is so important for our children to have more time to think and to take in all of the information that we've given them. So remember to wait, to ask the question again, and those things are going to be really helpful. This is something I do a lot with my students. I work with students from the age of 3 to the age of 16. And it helps my 16-year-olds too. So remember to repeat your questions, ask again, and give them tight time to answer. Right, let's keep going. It's not a quick fix. All right, one of the most important things that I also talk to my parents about is about consistency and structure. Our students start to develop patterns the more we do them. They learn to do something better and better if we keep doing it. So like I said, it takes time. If in that time that we're taking, we're repeating ourselves and again, and we keep practicing and we keep doing things in similar ways and in a structure, our students and our children who might not be communicating the same way that we do start learning that there is something to expect after. Oh, okay, so today we did this, we ate breakfast, and then after we ate breakfast, we put our, we got dressed, and after we got dressed, we got to play. If we do the same thing the next day, first we eat, then we get dressed, then we get to play, there's a point in their expectation that they're going to wait for it. I know Abby talked about it in doing that in some of our activities. You teach them the song so much and you repeat it in your structure and you use it in your consistency that they're going to start answering the questions for you. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. The only reason why we know that star comes is because we've had that. We've had that consistency. We've had that repetition, and it's been built into our growing up structure. And structure looks very different to create that expectation in that language. It can be schedules, it can be rewards, and it can be using images so that we know what comes first, what comes second, and what comes next. Finally, when it comes to time, a big thing that I want to that I want to mention is that as your team, the time that your child spends with us is very important, but the time that your child spends with you is even more important. So I like to say or think about it this way. When a child is walking along a beach, at least for me, I live where we pick up shells everywhere. And you're walking with a child starts picking up shells, right? And their hands get full of shells. And most of the time, they're going to reach out to the adult, the parent, the grandparent, the aunt, or the uncle, and go, can you hold these for me? Can you help me pick up more shells? So here's the idea. Me as your therapist or as your teacher, I come in and I can help you pick up one shell, two shells to fill up your hands. But you as the parent, you fill up the hand all the time with them. You spend every other minute of the day filling that shell. Me, I come in, I put in one shell during the hour that I spend with you. And then I give you skills and I help you learn tricks, which is what we're doing here, so that you can help your child fill up that hand full of shells and feel that their day is full of a learning environment, even when they don't know it. So that's very important. Remember that your time and our time with them is key to helping them grow and develop a lot of those skills. Next, I'll talk a little bit about hearing loss and attention. One of the biggest things when it comes to hearing loss is that we might not know our child has a hearing loss. So getting that identified is very, very important, because a lot of non-hearing behavior, so for children or adults who are not hearing, looks like that they're misbehaving, or that they don't want to pay attention, or that they're just avoiding you or ignoring you. And that might not be it. It might be that there's a hearing loss present. A lot of things that we can do to make sure that it's not the case. Remember, tap a child who is not looking at you before you start giving an instruction. A tap is very, very important. Remember that attention is the first key to learning and to communicating, because we're creating that connection with them, be it that it's tactile, it can be a tap on the table, it can be a tap on the wall, so that you're gaining their attention either visually because your hand is moving, or because they can feel the vibrations on the floor if you stomp your feet a little bit. But make sure that connection is being made with you before you start to teach something. And that way, then you can start using other skills to make sure that your communication is going through and ahead with them. That is my key and most important thing when it comes to working and having students who have hearing or who are hard of hearing or have difficulties with hearing in general. Step one, make sure that they know you're communicating with them. Again, my favorite, and I use it with adults with hearing loss as well as with children with hearing loss in my sessions, tap, hey, and then when they give them the time to turn around, give you connection. If it's visual or if you know that they're listening because their attention is faced to you, then you can start giving the instruction, giving the attention, or telling them what you want them to do next. Using visuals for them is also important. First this, then that. Visuals with your hands take away the pressure from the words that we're using and more into what they need to do or how many things we're expecting them to complete. And it works for all of my students. Like I've said, I work with 16-year-olds and they love doing only half of what we say. And my teenagers, if I use my hand gestures, these are the things I need you to do now. 1, 2, 3. And while they're completing them, I keep my fingers up. You did number 1. You did number 1. Very good. What's number 2? Say it back to me, go finish it. What's number 3? Say it back to me, go finish it. That way I'm giving them multiple inputs. I'm not just expecting them to understand the words that I'm using, but to really see them. And that adds another layer of help for our students who might be having trouble understanding or might be having trouble with just even keeping all of the ideas in their heads together. I have a lot of kids who have issues with memory, so holding on to what we say is hard. So if I use my fingers, they know there's more coming, even if they forgot it. And they can come back to me and say, I forgot number 2. Can you say it to me again? The visual might stay better than the word. So I like to pair them together. That always helps to create that connection and maintain that attention, which is going to always be key for our communication. Finally, images. I love images. And I understand that not all of us have the ability of having a tablet, a computer, or printing all of these forms out. You know, when I first started as a speech therapist, I drew all of mine out and I colored them in with my colored pencils. And that's what I used for my students. And that was, like we said, that was a long time ago. And that was enough. That helped my students communicate. I put some drawings on there that I made myself. I even have them here, so you believe me that I did them. So like, you can do it yourself. You can draw it. There's no need to print them if you can't. If you want to, that's not a problem. And I know that we'll give you some of these ideas. We have them for you if you want to print them out, but you can draw them any way in which you can communicate. If you want to draw them on the wall with chalk, if you want to use on the floor, any of these things, just to create a different way of communicating with your child is so important. One of the first things is a visual schedule. Remember, we want to create a structure and we want to create anticipation. What that means is that we want to let them know what we're doing now and what's coming next. For some of our children that might get overwhelmed or stressed out by not knowing the schedule, meeting new people, having to change what they want to do, having a schedule helps us deal with that stress, helps them deal with the anxiety of, but I don't know what's happening. This is not what I do every day. So there's simple schedules like you see here. I do, again, my beautiful, not even squares, where I'm saying we're going to eat, and then we're going to get dressed, and then we're going to play and read, for example. And I can change these squares every day. And I go over them with my child in the morning. And every time we do something, I go over it again. Good job, you finished one. Let's go to the next one. And they start expecting those things from us. We can do something simpler like a first and then. We're doing this now, then we go into this one. You can have a longer schedule. The more our students get used to what we're doing, the more we can actually increase their vocabulary by adding more pictures, the more we can make their day busy or like add more things to their day so they have more things to do, and start increasing their expectation, making them more comfortable with change. It's not easy for a lot of our students to deal with change. And I just have a lot of examples of what visual schedules look like I've said. What I normally do with a visual schedule, like I've said, with this one, it's just a first then. It's very simple. It's easier for our students who are only learning to do it. But we can also do a longer schedule, and every time something is finished, oh, I realize I can't change it right now. Every time something is finished, like you see on this one on the left, we can move it to the all done pile. And that starts creating that idea that we've completed something or we've finished it. Visual boards are very helpful for kids who are having trouble using their words. We can have yes or no, very simple, green or thumbs up, thumbs down, to kind of start teaching them. It's going to take time to learn to use things like this, but you start connecting the word, the visual of your hand with a picture. And the more you use the picture with the word, the more you consistently use it. There's a point in which the child is going to go, yes, no, but it takes time. Remember, it all takes time and consistency. Repetition is key for us to get some of these new skills into our kids for communicating. The last thing that I love significantly is reward charts. It helps them stay motivated, connected to what you're saying. I have different types here because with a child that I'm working with that is new, or one of my childs who need a lot of motivation, I will use a chart where they get a check mark, a star, whatever they want, or draw it themselves, color it in for every single thing they do. So I will start giving them a lot of stickers, check marks at the beginning. The more the child gets used to the reward, I start taking that away. So now you have to do 2 things to get a star. And a lot of my children love the competition. They love what that means to them because they don't notice that it is that I'm trying to push them to work harder. They just know that now it's a challenge. And I am very upfront and honest with them about creating those challenges from themselves. And I do that even for my youngest kids. I go, you can do this. We used to get one sticker for 2 words. I think you can do one sticker for 3 words. And slowly, I make the reward a bit harder to get, to the point where they are giving and using so much of their communication to get a lot of these charts. And I know that we're sharing some of those also with you later if you want to print them. Again, I draw them myself. That's in pencil. You can't see it, but you can draw your own sticker charts and make your own stars, because it doesn't have to be perfect. It's about creating the anticipation of winning, or creating that anticipation of, I can get a star, I can do it. And they can. And that also increases motivation. It improves behavior. And just helps all around our students feel engaged with what they're doing, and makes it easier when you're doing so much repetition and so much of the same thing. They don't get as bored as quickly if they have a reward. For some of our students, the end of a chart means we get to go play outside. We get to watch a video. We get to do a coloring book. For some of them, a lot of them just want to play a game and compete and beat me at tic-tac-toe. That's a lot of my kids. Tic-tac-toe is like their favorite thing to play against me, and they love beating me, and that can be the reward they get if they complete their chart. So like I've said, there's simple things you can do at home. Anything that they like can be what they look forward to at their reward. Anything that they like to do. It doesn't have to be food. It doesn't have to be physical. It just has to be as simple as they want to spend 5 extra minutes with mom. That's a big one. They want to spend 5 minutes more outside. That is a huge reward for a lot of my students. And I normally ask them what they'd like as of the end of the reward chart, so they're more motivated. And that's always helped me out. So at the end, the 3 things I want you to remember is that it takes time, repetition, and consistency. Grab their attention before you're asking or teaching something. Remember to wait so that they are on you, and they recognize that you're the person giving information. And use visuals, no matter what they look like. It is helping them to communicate and to connect with you. All right, I know I went, I think, a few minutes over, but if anybody has any questions about what I've done, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat. I'd love to kind of talk about it, or answer more questions if you have any about these 3 topics or others when it comes to sharing and learning and using these skills. But thank you so much.